The next major AI upgrade may not reach most people the moment it is ready, not because the company failed, not because the model does not work, not because users are not excited, but because the most powerful AI models are now starting to pass through a different kind of gate before they reach the public. Government review. That is the story behind GPT 5.6, Anthropic, model access, and the bigger shift happening across frontier AI right now. For years, AI releases have felt like normal technology launches. A company trains a better model, they test it, they announce it. Users open the app, developers hit the API, creators make videos, businesses start experimenting. That was the rhythm. But that rhythm is changing. OpenAI began previewing GPT 5.6 with Sol, Terra, and Luna, but not as a normal wide release. OpenAI said it previewed the model capabilities and plans with the United States government ahead of launch. It also said that at the government request, it was starting with a limited preview for trusted partners before broader availability. That one sentence changes the entire feeling of the release, because the question is no longer only, how good is the new model? The question is now, who gets to use it first, and who decides when everyone else gets access? That is what makes this moment feel bigger than one OpenAI update. This comes right after Anthropic had its own access shock. The United States government issued a directive that required Anthropic to suspend access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 for foreign nationals. Anthropic said the practical result was that it had to disable those models for all customers to ensure compliance. Then, Anthropic accused Alibaba-linked operators of running what it described as the largest known distillation attack on its systems, with nearly 25,000 fraudulent accounts and more than 28.8 million exchanges with Claude. Put those stories together. OpenAI is previewing its newest frontier model through a limited trusted partner rollout after government engagement. Anthropic had advanced model access disrupted by a government directive. Anthropic is also warning lawmakers that foreign-linked operators tried to extract Claude capabilities at massive scale. Europe is now asking whether it needs its own way to secure access to frontier AI, so it is not cut off by decisions made somewhere else. That is the bigger story. Frontier model releases are starting to look less like ordinary software launches and more like national security events. And whether you use ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, or any AI tool built into work software, this matters because these models are not staying in the tech demo lane. They are being used for writing, coding, research, customer service, business planning, schoolwork, creative production, cybersecurity, and operations. They are becoming part of how people work. So if the most powerful models arrive slower, arrive first to trusted partners, arrive with more monitoring, or arrive differently depending on who and where you are, that changes the experience for everyday users. That is the mountain this video is climbing. We are not asking whether government review is automatically good or bad. That is too simple. The real question is harder. Are the strongest AI models becoming so powerful that release day now belongs partly to the company, partly to the government, and only later to the public? And if that is where AI is heading, what does that mean for the people building their work around these tools? To answer that, we have to start with GPT 5.6. OpenAI describes GPT 5.6, Sol, as its strongest model yet. It points to stronger coding, science, biology, and cybersecurity capabilities. The system card also places the GPT 5.6 series at a high capability level in cybersecurity. That does not mean the model is some magic cyber weapon. OpenAI says it does not cross the critical threshold. It also says Sol is better at helping find and fix vulnerabilities than reliably carrying out complete attacks under tested conditions. That distinction matters, because the honest version of this story is not that a chatbot suddenly became unstoppable. The honest version is that frontier models are entering a gray zone. They are useful enough to help defenders. They are powerful enough to raise concern. They are not always dangerous in the way people imagine. But they are capable enough that governments do not want to be surprised by what happens when access goes wide. That is why the limited preview matters. A limited preview is not the same as a permanent block. OpenAI still says it believes in broad access. It says GPT 5.6, Sol, Terra, and Luna are planned for broader availability in the coming weeks. It also says it does not believe this kind of government access process should become the long-term default. So this is not a story about the public never getting the model. It is a story about the path to public access changing. That path now includes trusted partners, government visibility, extra testing, and more coordination before most users get the newest capability jump. For everyday people, that means the model release calendar may start to feel different. Instead of, the model is ready, so everyone gets it, it may become, the model is ready, the safety work is not finished, the government has seen the capabilities, selected partners get early access, then the public gets a broader version later. That is a very different world from the early ChatGPT era. And the reason is not only OpenAI. The Anthropic example is the clearest sign that this shift is already real. On June 12th, Anthropic said the United States government issued an export control directive to suspend access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 by any foreign national, whether inside or outside the United States. Anthropic said the order also included foreign national Anthropic employees. That is a huge scope. The internet makes nationality hard to enforce in real time. People live in one country, work for a company in another, collaborate with teams across borders, and access tools through cloud services. Anthropic said the net effect was that it had to abruptly disable Fable 5 and Mythos 5 for all customers to ensure compliance. That is where policy becomes user experience. To the government, this was a national security action. To Anthropic, it was a compliance problem. To users, it was a top model disappearing. And that is the part AIRealm cares about most. Because when the public hears export control, it sounds distant. It sounds like law. It sounds like a trade issue. But when export control hits a model selector, it becomes practical. A developer loses the model they were using for a coding workflow. A business loses a reasoning engine during an active project. A creator loses the tool they were using for research. A student loses the version that understood the assignment best. A global team suddenly has to ask whether everyone can access the same intelligence layer. That is not theoretical anymore. The strongest models are becoming access-controlled products, and the access rules may not always come from the company that made them. Now bring in the distillation claim. Anthropic told United States senators that operators affiliated with Alibaba and Quen generated more than 28.8 million exchanges with Claude through almost 25,000 fraudulent accounts. Anthropic framed this as an effort to extract capabilities through distillation. Distillation is a complicated word, but the basic idea is simple. If one model is extremely capable, another group may try to learn from its answers. They send many prompts, they collect the outputs, they use those outputs to train or improve another system. Sometimes distillation is legitimate. It can be part of normal model development, compression, or research. But Anthropic is saying this campaign was fraudulent, massive, and designed to extract value from Claude at scale. That matters because it explains why model access itself becomes sensitive. In the past, people mostly thought of risk as the model doing something harmful in a single conversation. Now, companies and governments have to think about another risk. What if access to the model helps a rival copy its capability? What if the API becomes a training source? What if the public interface becomes the doorway to extract the very thing a lab spent billions of dollars building? That is the security logic behind stronger controls. It is not only about what one user can ask today. It is about what millions of queries can teach another model tomorrow. That is the part many casual discussions miss. When people say, just release the model, they are usually thinking like users. When governments look at the same model, they may be thinking about cyber capability, strategic competition, intellectual property extraction, and military or intelligence use. Those are different mental models. This is where the story becomes a real tension instead of a simple complaint. There is a strong argument for caution. If a frontier model gets better at cybersecurity work, even if it mostly helps defenders, it can still change the balance. A tool that helps a security team find vulnerabilities can also help a bad actor search for weaknesses. A model that can automate long horizon coding tasks can make productive work faster, but it can also make harmful work easier to scale. And when a company documents that a model reaches a high capability threshold in cybersecurity, it is not shocking that the government wants to look more closely before the release becomes broad. That is the best argument for review. The counter-argument is also strong. If every major frontier release becomes a government-managed rollout, then users may get slower progress. Developers may have less certainty. International users may face delays. Startups may struggle to plan around access. Companies may begin designing tools around political timing instead of product readiness. And the public may start to wonder whether the best AI is becoming something only trusted groups receive first. That is not a small concern. AI started as a broad access story. A regular person could open a chat interface and use a tool that felt surprisingly close to what the best labs had built. That broad access is part of why AI exploded. People did not need to be inside a major company to experience the leap. A student could use it. A creator could use it. A small business owner could use it. A developer could build with it. A person at home could ask better questions, plan better, learn faster, and do work that previously required more time or more help. That is why the access question matters. If the frontier becomes more tiered, the gap between everyday users and vetted users may grow, and that gap may shape the future of work. Imagine two companies. One gets trusted early access to the newest frontier model. The other has to wait weeks or months. The first company can test agents, automate processes, find efficiencies, and build workflows earlier. The second company is still operating on the older layer. That may not sound dramatic in 1 week, but over time, access speed becomes advantage. The same is true for countries. If one region gets the newest AI capabilities earlier, its researchers, companies, and institutions may move faster. If another region is delayed or restricted, it may look for alternatives. That is why Austria's response matters as supporting context. Austria reportedly urged the European Union to consider hosting Anthropic inside the bloc, so Europe would not be cut off from major innovations. That does not mean it will happen. But the fact that the idea is being raised tells you something. AI access is becoming a sovereignty issue. Countries and regions do not want to depend entirely on another government's decision about who gets the strongest models. That is the ripple. The United States may see restrictions as national security protection. Europe may see them as a warning that it needs more control over its own access. China may continue pushing domestic alternatives and may also face more suspicion around model extraction. Open model communities may see the whole situation as proof that local and open systems matter. And everyday users may simply wonder why the tool they heard about is not available to them yet. That is the strange thing about this moment. At the top level, it is about governments, labs, national security, and global competition. At the user level, it is about a simple question. Can I use the best tool or not? That is why the story needs both layers. If we only talk about policy, the video becomes dry. If we only talk about user frustration, the video becomes shallow. The real story is the connection. Policy is becoming product experience. Government review is becoming release timing. Cybersecurity capability is becoming access control. Geopolitical competition is becoming what shows up in the app. That is the new AI reality. And once you see it, a lot of separate stories begin to connect. The Anthropic restriction was not just an Anthropic issue. The GPT 5.6 preview is not just an OpenAI launch detail. The Alibaba distillation claim is not just a corporate complaint. The European response is not just politics. They are all part of the same transition. Frontier AI is moving from open excitement into managed deployment. That does not mean the future is locked down. It does not mean everyday users are being cut out completely. It does not mean every AI update will need a government approval drama. The boundary matters. Most AI features will still roll out like normal software. Smaller updates, interface changes, workflow features, tool integrations, and ordinary model improvements will keep moving. The concern applies most clearly to the absolute frontier. The models that show major jumps in coding, cyber, biology, autonomy, and long-horizon reasoning. Those are the models that create the hardest questions. And those are the models that may increasingly launch in layers. Trusted partners first, defensive researchers first, enterprise programs first, United States-aligned organizations first, broader public access later. That may become more common. For some people, that will feel responsible. For others, it will feel like the public is losing the open access spirit that made AI exciting in the first place. Both reactions make sense. If you are worried about cybersecurity, you may want powerful models tested carefully before anyone can use them at full strength. If you are a developer, creator, founder, student, or international user, you may worry that the best tools will start arriving through a gate you cannot see and cannot influence. That is the honest tension. Safety matters, access matters, innovation matters, trust matters, and now they are all colliding at release day. So, what should everyday people actually take from this? First, do not treat the newest model as guaranteed access. If a tool matters to your workflow, have a backup. That does not mean abandon ChatGPT or Claude. It means understand that the most advanced cloud AI is not only a product, it is part of a regulated, competitive, strategic ecosystem. Second, expect more tiered access. The future may not be one clean release for everyone. It may be preview users, trusted users, enterprise users, regional users, general users, and restricted users. That sounds annoying, but it is probably where frontier AI is going. Third, pay attention to why a model is delayed. Not every delay means the company is failing. Not every limited preview means censorship. Sometimes it means the model is powerful enough that the company, the government, and outside testers are trying to figure out how to release it without creating new risks. Fourth, keep the bigger picture in mind. The race is not only about who builds the smartest model, it is about who controls access to that model, who can afford to run it, who can protect it from extraction, who can legally offer it, who can trust it enough to build on it, and who gets left waiting. That is the shift AIRealm will keep tracking. Because the everyday AI story is no longer only about prompts and features. It is about the systems behind the tools, the government review, the company incentives, the security risks, the international competition, the compute limits, the access tiers, the user impact. This is also why the game plan by Dylon ecosystem exists around these channels and prompt products. The point is not just to chase the newest tool name, it is to help people understand how to actually think through these shifts, build better workflows, and stay flexible as the tools change around them. If you want the full ecosystem, the channels, and the product page, check the link tree in the description. But the final answer for today is this. Yes, frontier AI releases are starting to look like national security events. Not every release, not every update, not forever in the most extreme version. But at the highest level of capability, the old product launch model is changing. The best models may still reach everyday users, but they may reach them later, through more layers, with more safeguards, and with more government visibility than before. And that means the next era of AI will not only be measured by capability, it will be measured by access. Who gets the model first? Who has to wait? Who gets trusted? Who gets restricted? And who gets to decide? That is the new question sitting underneath the next big AI leap.